Hello, and welcome to the Joel Wolfe podcast. There are some big topics facing us today, whether it's parenting, relationships, or questions about where we came from and who God is. Why don't we tackle them together? We're so glad you're with us. Let's get started.
We ended the night with talking about that progress of how to transfer, make that universal shift that every child has to go through. And remember the graph where for the first year to year and a half, they have absolutely no self-control. And they have a whole bunch of control over parents. And they have no boundaries. And they have no character. And then there's this transition, this shift that we have to make. And the goal is that by the time they hit 18, that all of a sudden now they are filled with character. They're filled with boundaries, and they are no longer trying to control parents, right? So that's the whole shift. So how do we make that shift? It's going through this process every single day, numerous times every day. And you can start this process with a 2-year-old. You can start this process with a 5, 10, 15-year-old. Well, you could start with a 20-year-old as well, but hopefully by the time you hit 20, they're not around you to be, that you're beyond it at that point. But if you have a 20-year-old still at your home, you can start this process. Okay, so let's talk through it. There's 2 different ways, and our goal in this parenting class is to teach us to parent with success and not break a sweat. The parents who break a sweat, they have a happy mom and a happy child. There's a behavior that happens, and the mom immediately dips down into frustration. I can't believe you're doing this again. There's all sorts of feelings that can get into us at that point. They have limits, but they're not exactly defined and clear, and sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. And when the child hits that limit, the frustrated parent's going to have a tendency to yell, scream, go crazy, go nuts, bargain, 1, 2, start counting, all of this kind of thing. But the problem with that is that there's no power in it. The child still has all the power, okay? So then it comes time for a consequence. And this parent usually quite often is at a loss as to what consequence they're going to give them. And so they give them crazy consequences, things that really can never be carried out. They use a lot of unenforceable words. And it's very, very important. I'm going to show you a list of different ways that you can word your consequences or the way you're talking to your children so that they're very enforceable, so that you're not get locked into a power struggle. Everybody say no power struggle. So they use a lot of unenforceable words, the consequence. Because of the consequence, the child is going to protest. We already talked about the fact that anytime you try to put a boundary on a child, you try to deal with their lack of self-control, it's going to be painful. We talked about the fact that when they protest, a lot of times these moms are tired, these dads, they want to give up, they're powerless, they feel powerless. They will a lot of times cave, and the change then is not in the child, but the change is in the parents' requirements. Now, on your notes, I was a little bit confusing, I know, last night. So if you'll open up your notebook to those last pages that we talked about, at the bottom of page 3, put a smiley face, because that was the successful way, okay? So we just talked through what needs to be on your second page. Now flip over to the next page, page 4. So that's kind of the process that we talked about that actually should go on. So put a big sad face on that page, okay? Sad face. And I want to make it very, very clear, because I think the underlining information that we're going to fill in those blanks, are really, really, really good. That sad face page there, if you go through, if this is how you function in your child raising, and all of that, this is what is going to happen. In that, the parent is the problem. This is the correct fill-ins there. So if I made this unclear last night, I apologize. I made a quick change in how I was going to deliver that, and I realized later that it could be confusing. So going through this, when the child is experiencing this, they look at you and you're the problem. You're the one yelling and screaming and turning red in your face. You're the one that's mad and upset. You become the problem. The parent then becomes the adversary. You're the one that they're fighting against. Okay? The power struggle is with the parent. The power struggles with the parent. And this is where parents start getting frustrated and they give up and they feel like they have no power. The boundary or whatever it is you're trying to teach them remains external because the child is fighting you. He's not fighting with the wants and the desires inside of them. They're fighting with you. And the change lies within the parents' expectations. The parents' change are the ones that have to change. Okay, you can have the candy. Okay. Just stop. Okay? So that's the sad way. That's the hard way. So now flip your page back to page 3. And let me just clarify that is not how we're going to parent. We're going to parent from a successful standpoint. And this goes something like this. Happy child, happy mom, running around playing, having a great day, right? The child does a behavior. Instead of the mom getting frustrated and mad, the mom gets excited. Yes, we have an opportunity to teach you. Now, this is going to be something you are going to have to decide every moment, every day to get excited about a teachable moment or to get mad. At this point, you have to get excited. This is your opportunity to write on their heart. You got to love it. You got to love this. And if you make that shift alone coming out of this class, you will have made a step towards bettering things, okay? So happy mom. See, mom is happy here. You're going to see that mom stays happy all the way through. Mom or dad, parent. Happy mom, we got an opportunity. Happy mom knows what she wants and where the limits lie. And whenever that is broken or transgressed, happy mom doesn't get mad and angry and afraid. Happy mom goes, oh, I'm so sorry. Because now life can't go well for you. Oh, I'm so sorry. And they begin to step in what's called empathy. I'm going to feel really bad for you because life is really going to get hard for you from now on for a little while. This is a bummer, okay? And the way they say or acknowledge that there is a limit that's been broken is they will say something to that effect. Bummer, uh-oh, rats, shoot, oh. And that becomes a trigger in your child's heart and mind that says, oh, I did something wrong. Okay? But it's through empathy, right? So then they hit a consequence. The parent is prepared. She knows what she's doing. She's not afraid of consequences. She loves consequences. Mommies love consequences. Daddies love consequences. And if you don't have one right away, because I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, you can do a delayed consequence depending on the age of the child. Then there's going to be protest. And through that protest, this parent stays happy all the way through. And all she has to do is endure. And once she gets through the stages that the child will go through, they will get angry, they will have rage, they will be frustrated, but that will all, if you can endure it, and if you can stay smiley, it will begin to change. And that will change into sadness and finally resignation. And if you go through all of this, the choice for the child becomes the problem. Now, these are your fill in the blanks. The choice that they made, this becomes their problem. I did that. It's no longer the mad and angry parent, because parent isn't mad and angry. It puts all of it back onto their behavior. The choice or their behavior is the problem. The limit is their adversary. Are you kidding me? I can't do that. Okay, the limit becomes their adversary. The power struggle now, instead of being with you, their power struggle now is within. Can I do this? Can I integrate this into my life? Because when I do that, it hurts me. So the power struggle becomes within, and the boundary then becomes internalized, and the change occurs within the child. They begin to decide, you know what? It's not worth it for me to smack my mom. I want to smack my mom. I feel it really hard. I want to go in there and punch her. And you've seen children go in and do that, little ones especially. I want to, but if it becomes, you just look at your child and go, uh-oh. And then we do a consequence that we're going to talk about in just a minute. With a happy heart, they feel the pain. The pain is, do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so the change happens within. So does that make more sense? Does that bring clarity to kind of our ending of last night? Okay, so let's take the next few minutes and let's clarify even more so. We're going to break this down. Loving parent, this happy moment right here where everybody is happy. I want to encourage you. And once again, I want to do this. I want you to have family time on purpose. I want you to consider, what is your family like? What is the culture of your home? What is the culture of your family? So many times we live life and we fly through it. And it's all about going and doing and da-da-da-da. We don't realize that the culture of your life is being dictated by your busyness and not by you. I want you to take a minute, stop, silence everything, look in the eyes of your husband if you are married or your wife and say, what is our family going to be like? When I do pre-marriage counseling, that's one of the first things I have those couples do is define, what is your house going to be like? What is the culture of your home? What's the vision statement of what you want everybody who walks through the front door to experience? Then all of a sudden you're living life and you're constructing your whole world around that. Is it going to be joy? Is it going to be happiness? Is it going to be, a giving family? What is it? Determine what the culture of your family is going to be like. And that's what everybody lives in. And you want to make the culture of your home so cool that your children want to be in it. We would have so much fun out in the living room / family room kitchen of our home, of our family, that when our children disobeyed or transgressed or harmed one another and we removed them from that situation, they were missing out. Sometimes our family, that culture of our living room, family room, rec room culture is not something our children are yearning for. It's something they're trying to get away from. I know it's hard to hear these words, and you get to construct it. So now, once again, like I said last night, so much of this is going to be really introspective to you. So is there strife? Are you a strifeful person? And you need to stop. You need to learn how to be a happy person, a fun person, an enjoyable person to be around. Amen? So that's this little section here. Make sure that in the midst of that. So number 1, underneath loving parents, what page is that? 5. So you're on page 5. Unfortunately, your notes are your page layout's a little different than mine. Number 1, under loving parents, you are meeting needs. You are meeting all their needs. And in this arena right here, there's so much trust and security and fun. Number 2, fun. Okay, happy family. It's the place to be. That's the fun place. That's where I want to be. Number 3, in happy family mode, you are sharing as much control as you possibly can with your children. You're sharing as much control. Now, this was really hard. When I was raising kids, I didn't do this. And when I was, reading about this later on, I was like, man, I should have. Why didn't I do this more? What you do and what they really encourage you to do is give as much control away as possible. Give them choices. So there's 4 bullet points underneath this control issue, okay? And part of the reason is that if you can give up control, and remember we talked a lot about the fact that we can only control ourselves, we can't control our children. We need to teach our children that they have control over their world to a certain extent, their personal space and them. So if they have a parent that's always telling, put on these clothes, do this, they start feeling controlled and they don't like that. So then they're going to fight back. Does that make sense? I wish I would have done this more. I was very controlling. Can you imagine? So the 4 bullet points. Number 1, be ridiculous about it. Just kind of be ridiculous about it. Giving them choices. Number 2, give away 99% of everything when things are going well. All sorts of choices for them. When you give them choices, only give them 2. And make sure it's 2 choices that you can live with. Okay? So, do you want to wear your red dress or your purple dress today? The green one. Well, okay, but maybe there's 3 choices that day. But just make sure that they're all choices that you can live with, right? Is that a third bullet point? Yes, that's the 3rd bullet point, sorry. And number 4, 4th bullet point there, if they don't pick within 10 seconds flat, they lose the opportunity to pick. Okay? You're going to wear the red pants or the blue pants or the green pants? 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay, blue. Put them on. That's kind of how it works. So some of the rules, ground rules, make sure that the options you give them are options that you will live with. And the next thing would be that if they don't choose within 10 seconds flat, you get to pick. Those are kind of the ground rules. So number 4 under loving parents. Yes. Change their mind. I'm blowing through this really quickly, but the books talk about that. And we want to encourage them that once they make their choice, they're going to stick with that choice and make sure if they change, they do a lot of that waffling, they've lost their ability to change, unfortunately. Because what that ends up doing is they're trying to get back into control. And that's difficult. You can control yourself, and here's your options, and stay within this box. But if you're going to start trying to mess with me and kind of make things more difficult for me, you're not going to do that to me. Okay? Make sense? Now, yeah. Everything I tell you, I'm just giving you ideas and parameters. You can pick and choose. You can say, I think that'll work for me. That probably won't work for me. I'm just throwing it out, okay? So number 4 there, love rules in this happy family. And this is where, the Bible comes in so beautifully. And once again, I talked to you guys last night about the fact that the cool thing about Christianity is that all of us, your children and you, are going to land at the foot of the cross, and you all have to live to the same measure. So love is supposed to be your rule. Read 1 Corinthians 13. It's amazing. Patient, kindness, no envy, no boasting. That'll help you to decide what goes on in your culture. All right, so misbehavior. Let's move on to misbehavior right here, right in here. Misbehavior. So it's the next section, letter B, right? Okay. Number 1 under misbehavior. First of all, I want you to all know that it's normal. Write down it's normal. And I want you to think about your children, and if none of them are, one of them has no misbehavior, I want you to make an appointment with a psychiatrist and get them in right away. Get it checked out because it's a problem. So everyone is going to misbehave, and so all of a sudden you're going to be okay. All of a sudden that takes away a lot of fear. My kid's going to be a disaster. No, your kid's normal, okay? It's normal. Number 2 there, get excited. Get happy. We love misbehavior, don't we, people? Why do we love misbehavior? Yes, that is an opportunity for you to step into their life and begin to write on their hearts and to begin to change their behavior, change their way of doing things. So misbehavior, it's normal, get excited. Number 3, do not break a sweat. Determine in your heart that every single misbehavior is going to go just fine, and you are not going to break a sweat. How many of you, when your child misbehaves, you feel your blood pressure kind of rising, that it's going to be another problem time? And I don't know about you, but sometimes I would think, okay, they're going to be terrible children, or the fear likes to come in. But determine right now that you're not going to break a sweat. Because if you can, and here's something really, really important. If your child looks at you and your child can pitch a fit, your child can say something, your child can do something, and he knows he's got you rattled, a lot of things happen in their brain. First thing that happens is they look at you and go, I'm bigger than you, and I'm stronger than you, and I'm in charge. But if they do all their stuff and they look at you and you're like, not rattled, then they know they have a parent that's bigger than anything they can ever come up with. And that is security. They need that security. And when they turn into teenagers and you find out they've been smoking weed, and you don't get rattled, you look at them with a confidence that you know that you're going to help them through this and that they're going to win. They have a security inside of you. But if those kids know that their parents get rattled by their own, that they can easily rattle their parents, they don't have that security. They don't know. They don't know that there is something bigger than them that can hold them. Because when they hit teenage years, they go through what's called disintegration. And I talked to you a little bit about that last night. It's the Lego thing, you know. That's also, the bigger word for that is disintegration. Teenagers go through disintegration and they fall apart. Everything unravels in their world, and they have to decide what they really are going to be. And if they know that they're surrounded by a parent, if they have a parent that actually they can disintegrate all over the place and you are still big enough to encapsulate them, then they have confidence, they have security, and they inside they know they can make it through. So this not breaking a sweat, it's about you not losing, popping more gray hairs and all that kind of thing. But it's more than that. It teaches your child that you are bigger than them, and your capacity is they can never do anything bad enough to rattle you. Isn't that how God is with us? Isn't God bigger than our fits and our misbehavior? And isn't that the cool thing about God? That we can be so stupid and we can be so awful and we can do so many dumb, stupid things. And we look up at God and he's not going, what are you doing? He's not doing that. He's just looking at us with love. And he's saying, come on. I got your answer for you. Come on. And he wraps his arms around us, right? That's you. That's you. You are not rattled by a 2-year-old tantrum. Look at your neighbor and say, I am not rattled by a 2-year-old tantrum. Julie over here, I'm trying not to be rattled by a 2-year-old tantrum. A steep learning curve. I like it. That's why we're doing this. Don't break a sweat. Number 4. And this kind of repeats what we're talking about here. So I'm just going to give you a bunch of words. Start writing. Ready? Number 4, you are not frustrated. You are not inconvenienced. You're not embarrassed. You're not hassled. You're not fearful. And you are not a crazy parent. Now, for some of you, this is prophetic. This isn't honest right now. This is you might not be walking in this right now. Sometimes for some of you, you're going to have to prophesy over yourself every day. I am not frustrated. I am not embarrassed. I am not upset. I am not crazy, Mom. I am calm. I am happy. I am strong. I am bigger than them. We will win. You laugh. This is my conversation with myself every day when my kids were especially younger. You want to hear those words again? You like them? Okay. I am not frustrated. I am not inconvenienced. I am not embarrassed. I'm not hassled. I'm not afraid. And I am, most of all, not crazy. I'm not going to do this crazy mom right here. Okay? Number 4. You, as soon as a misbehavior happens, you turn into love and empathy. Now, some of you, this might rub out against your grain because you're a little bit more black and white, and if there's something that goes wrong, that needs to be corrected and fixed. You're right. You're absolutely right. But the mode with which you are going to function through the setting right of every wrong, because we will. Look at your neighbor and say, I will set every wrong right. Oh boy. I look at my kids every day and I say, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. You're going to lose. You're going down. I'm going to win. But I'm going to do it with a loving, empathetic attitude. There's different ways to take your enemy down, right? You can do it mad and angry, or you can do it with love. You're going to do it with love, okay? So under love, I want you to put 4 or 5 little bullet points. First of all, under 5 there, have I lost you? Yeah. What?
So 4 is love, I'm assuming, and then the bullet points.
Okay, those black bullet points that you're looking at right there, I'm very sorry. Those are going to be your love. So put on top of that love. Number 5, love. Sorry. This is a first run through with these new notes. So you got number 1, it's normal. Number 2, get excited. Number 3, don't break a sweat. Number 4, you are not frustrated, inconvenienced, embarrassed, etc. Number 5, love and empathy is going to rule the day. And there's 5 bullet points underneath that love. Okay, are you ready to go? Love and empathy. The reason why you're going to go with love is that love has the ability, and this is not a bullet point yet. Just keep writing this out. I know I'm bugging you. Under number 5, love and empathy have a way of soaking up emotion and neutralizing it. Think about that. Because when they're going through protest and their anger and they're mad and they're rah, 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 and they're acting out, you have a choice. You can either be angry and be mad back and rah, rah, rah. And do you know what that's going to do? That's going to incite in them the fight or flight mechanism. And they will then become your adversary, and there will be anger and fighting between you, and it will escalate. But if you choose to walk in love, love soaks up all of that anger and it neutralizes it. They can feel it, but you're like, I love you. I love you. I love you so much. It neutralizes emotion. Okay, bullet point number 1. This love, this empathy means that you understand. You get it. You've done this before. You've been there. I get it. You have to make sure your children know that what they're experiencing, you have walked it as well. I know. It hurts. I'm so sorry. I know how it feels. When you have someone who's identifying with you, can you fight them very well? No. So number 1 bullet point, you understand. Number 2, you understand, I just was saying, that anger and frustration will activate that fight or flight, and you will engage yourself in a wonderful fight, and you will escalate their emotions. 3rd bullet point, empathy, and this is so huge. Empathy and love opens the mind to learning. And if you're wanting your children to learn and change and grow, you better operate in empathy and love as you're going through this, because that opens, when you are going through a hard time and you have someone sit down with you and say, man, I know that's really hard. I'm so sorry. Oof, I can feel your pain. Then what are your tendencies to, in that situation? Open up even more. Maybe listen to their advice, all of that kind of thing. Love will open their minds up to hear from you eventually. But if you are not operating in love and empathy, it's going to be a problem. Number 4, am I on the 4th bullet point? Forces kids to own the problem instead of focusing on fighting with you. How can you fight against somebody who's looking at you going, I know, it hurts. Shoot, I'm so sorry. You're right. How can they get in a fight with you when you are the one that is loving them through this thing? And no longer, once again, you are not the adversary. You are not the problem. It's the consequence and the choice that they made that is the problem. Is this getting in your head? Is it kind of shifting your mindset? And the final bullet point there is that you can never use sarcasm or negativity. You can never say, I love you so much, and I told you so. See? I told you so. You can't say that. You just have to be straight up. I am so sorry. I'm sorry.
Thanks for joining us today for this episode of the Joel Wolfe Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the message. Don't forget to subscribe to receive more great content regularly, and join Joel online at joelwolfe.me, as well as on Facebook at facebook.com/author Joel Wolfe. Also, don't miss Joel's latest book, guiding you through your adventures in parenting, Courage in Chaos, which Dr. Kevin Lehman says inspires both the heart and the head in equal measure. It's available for purchase at joelwolfe.me. Thanks again for listening. And until next time, have a great day.